Today we have two of the best-selling mid-size sedans in the country, the 2020 Toyota Camry XSE V6 and the 2020 Honda Accord Touring 2-liter turbo. We're going to do a full detailed look at the exterior, the interior of these vehicles, go for a test drive as well. If you want to see a full review of each independent vehicle by itself, head to the description below to check that out. Now these are the top trims of these cars with tons of features, fully loaded, and they're expensive. If you want to see comparison of vehicles that are $10,000 cheaper, the SE and the Sport model for the Accord, be sure to check out Car Confections. They did a comparison about a week ago. I'll put the link to their video in the description below. Let's dive in. Now, for the sake of this comparison, my job is not to persuade you, but to educate you and show you exactly what you get with each of these vehicles. And for that reason, I'm not going to tell you the price until later in the video. Now, starting out on the exterior of the Camry, let's go through all these features real quick. So first of all, we've got LED high and low beam headlights with integrated LED daytime running lights as well. There are no fog lights though, which is a bummer to me. Up front, we're going to get a pretty good size gloss black mesh grille with some parking sensors up front as well. And this paint color is a two-tone, which is optional on these top trims. We get the black metallic roof with this wind chill pearl white paint. And it really pops, it really stands out for this Camry. And that's paired with 19-inch black machine finish wheels, 235/40 series tires, vented brakes in the front, solid in the back. And this car has the blackout package, so something to note, some of the stuff on here is going to be blacked out as well. We have black heated mirrors with turn signals and blind spot monitoring, but no reverse tilting function in here compared to the Accord. You're going to get some rocker panels down below with some black treatment on those. Independent suspension all the way around, but this is sport tuned, unlike the adaptive suspension on the Accord. Then coming around the back, we've got some sporty styling with some fake vents, LED taillights, and black quad exhaust tips on our particular model. Now let's take a look at the exterior of this 2020 Honda Accord. So starting out right up front, we've got full LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. Those are the high and the low beams. Also LED fog lights, which you will not find on the Camry. And then you've got a glossy black grille, again, very similar, very low front end, and this chrome wing crossbar from Honda. This whole vehicle sits pretty low. And this is the platinum white. There's no two-tone paint, but this is a platinum white, which is metallic-y. It looks very nice as well, super similar to the Camry. We will have 19-inch machine finished wheels with little inserts and 235/40 series tires. Again, of course, vented front and solid rear disc brakes. We will have heated body color mirrors with LED turn signals and tilting function when you put the car in reverse. So something else that you won't find on the Camry with that. Very nice to see. An independent suspension with adaptive dampers. Now, instead of going with a sport tuned suspension like the Camry, the Accord went with adaptive dampers, which can kind of give you the best of both worlds depending on how you're driving. And then around out the back, we've kind of got a faster sloping roof line and LED brake lights with integrated LED light bars, but incandescent turn signal. And then you will have dual exhaust below, but it won't quite be like the Camrys. It's going to be behind those covers on the bumper. Now on the outside, there are some definite differences between the styling and the way that both of these cars wanted to go, but certainly some similarities as well. One thing that stands out is that the Accord has adaptive dampers, while the Camry has a sport tuned suspension, and the overall styling of it. The size is very similar. On the outside, the Accord and Camry are about less than ½ an inch apart in terms of their length, but the Accord is a little bit wider by about 1 inch and about 100 pounds less than the Camry. Now the cargo area for the Camry, there's a little button right around this Y. You can open that up, and this will give us 15.1 cubic feet, which isn't the best in class, but certainly isn't terrible either. It does accommodate some pretty good size items. And one nice thing is that we have pull tabs on each side to lower the seats down, so you can fold those. And when I throw a carry-on suitcase in here, you can shove it back there pretty well and still have a lot of space for some other carry-on suitcases or bigger suitcases or just some big items, even wide items. You've got good space in the pockets as well. Now the trunk and cargo space for the Accord is really pretty darn spacious. There's a little lift right up under, or a little tab you can push on right up under there. You've got exposed hinges, which is one negative. I'd like to see that changed, but this trunk is huge. 16.7 cubic feet, super wide, hardly any bulk in there. It's just easy to put stuff. Now, let me give you a look with a carry-on suitcase. Slides back there quite a ways. It's got good depth, it's got good height, and as you can see, the big thing compared to other vehicles is just how much space there is in the corners. And it's nice to see a hook and a little something you can drape something on both sides. So big, giant, spacious trunk, and the seats can also fold down. The Camry gives you a smart key system with push button start and remote start thanks to our radio system. Just push and hold this down 3 times for a while. And the way that it works is probably my favorite way, is that you can just push that to lock it, or you can just stick your hand behind there to unlock it. And usually it's pretty smooth. Of course, the Accord gives you a smart key system right here. Pretty nice key fob. You've got push button start, remote start standard on here as well. And I like the Accord's system. You've got this button to lock it. Stick your hand back there. You've got sensors, and of course, for me, of course, not very responsive, but usually no problems. And then one feature that you can decide whether or not is active is when you walk away, you can have it automatically lock once you get far enough away, which is pretty cool. You can have that on or off. Now, when we take a look at the interior of this 2020 Toyota Camry, everything is laid out pretty nice. It's a little more traditional than some of the newer ones with tablet style. In this particular car, we get a textured metal interior, an integrated touchscreen instead of the tablet style, and kind of a sweeping center dash that runs down into the center console. We have the 10-inch head-up information display, which is pretty nice as well. A lot of information. A 7-inch information display in between our 2 gauges in front of the steering wheel. A nice leather-wrapped steering wheel with all the controls that you would want, and paddle shifters. And then we have an 8-inch touchscreen right in the middle of the center console. Sirius XM is standard on all trims. We have Android Auto, which is brand new for this year, Apple CarPlay and Alexa. The JBL speaker system, which is 9 speakers, 800 watts. That is definitely a step up above the Accord. It's nice to see that in the Camry. We have a backup camera with dynamic lines, as well as the optional bird's eye view camera, which is a 360-degree camera and dynamic navigation. So the bird's eye camera is something you also don't get on the Accord, which is really nice to see and very helpful in parking situations. Just below that, we're going to get dual zone climate control standard on here with some nice feeling buttons. Very simple layout, easy to use. Going to get a storage bin in front of our shifter with wireless charging, a USB port, a 12-volt power outlet. A traditional shifter in here with our Eco, Normal, and Sport mode as well. Cup holder seems to fit my bottle well. We've got our ventilated and heated seat buttons here. And I really like this nice long center armrest. It is soft and nice. And when you open it up, you've got good space inside as well with 2 fast charging USB ports. And on top of that, some other things is we've got garage controls, an automatic dimming rearview mirror, LED lighting right up here, and a panoramic roof up above us, which is nice. And you have a full shade you can pull across, or you can move that back, open it up, something you don't expect and something you don't see in the Accord. Now, the interior of this 2020 Honda Accord is laid out really nice. There's nice materials in here as well. Honda went for a more sophisticated interior. There's nice materials all around, like I said. They went with a tablet style screen instead of something integrated, so leave your thoughts down below. We have a nice head-up display with a tachometer and a speedometer. We've got a pretty easy to read looking instrument cluster with some good sized gauges. You've got a digital side with the tachometer and all sorts of other information like your nav, your radio, all of that easily controlled with the steering wheel. The steering wheel is also leather wrapped with paddle shifters. And as we move across the dash, we get an 8-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, HD radio, navigation, physical buttons on both sides, a volume and a tuning knob, which is good. I thought I'd mention it because you don't always get that. And this has a 10-speaker, 450 watt system, which is not as good, not as much power as the Toyota system. But we also have dual zone AC below. All these buttons and stuff feel really nice. It's laid out easily, easy to use, no trouble with that. Wireless charging below that with a USB and 12-volt power outlet. Nice to see that with the storage space. Kind of a unique shifting situation though. We've got a push button shifter, not my favorite, but it frees up some space. And then a sport button, of course, electronic parking brake and brake hold. The bottle holders in here also work well. I always love when my large bottle can fit. Sorry about that. No trouble with that. The center armrest is nice and wide, nice and long as well. I've got no trouble putting my arm on here and on the steering wheel. So everything is laid out well. We've got a USB in here with 12-volt power outlet in here and a removable tray. And then up above, we've got auto dimming mirror as well with garage controls, typical theme. We don't have a panoramic roof. You can't get one in the Accord, so something to think about compared to the Camry. But because we don't, we also have a sunglass holder. And one difference is we don't have LED lights. We've just got your regular incandescent light bulbs in here. But that wraps it up. As far as the interior and the features go, they are both almost identical. There's not much different except the Camry is going to give you a better stereo system plus a surround view bird's eye camera, which you cannot get on the Accord. Also, the Camry is going to give you panoramic glass, which the Accord can't. So both very similar. The Camry also adds an extra USB port. Styling is so different in these cars on the inside. I would just love to know which one you prefer. The 2020 Camry is going to give us 8-way leather seats with 2-way lumbar support, and this one has these really bold red leather seats that I would just love to know if you like them or not. I think it's really cool that you can get those in a car like this. Heated seats are standard on this model, and the big news for 2020 now optional is ventilated seats. You couldn't get that before on the Camry, but now we have ventilated seats in this one as well. The one thing is that there's no memory option like there is on the Avalon, but overall seat comfort is good. The headrest maybe is a little far forward for my taste, but overall there's good support, there's good bolstering, and everything in here just looks nice. Now hopping into the back seat of the Camry. Camry does have pretty good headroom because of its design, and we still got that red leather in here as well. And now sitting behind myself, 5'9", got pretty good knee space, pretty good foot space as well, and I can definitely sit here comfortably, no troubles. We have rear AC vents. There aren't any USB ports or charging ports back here, and there's a smallish to medium-sized hump in the middle. Right over here, we also have this fold-down armrest with a couple decent-sized bottle holders. Fold that up, and then you've got some space in the middle. If I sit in the middle, I have no headroom. That's something to think about. But sitting right here, I can sit up tall without my head actually touching, which is great. And then there's LED lighting back here as well. Passengers still get a semi-soft material on the upper and a nice soft armrest right here as well, and a couple small bottle holders right down there. Now the front seats for the Accord are leather wrapped, and they are 12-way with 4-way lumbar support. The lumbar can do the typical in and out, but also up and down, which was really nice for me. I seem to get it just in a perfect spot. This leather is nice and soft. These seats are heated and ventilated standard, both of them for this touring trim. And standard is 2-position memory settings. And when you turn the car on, the seat, or turn the car off if you want, the seat can move forward or move back for the easy entrance and exit system. These seats are quite comfortable. The headrest isn't intrusive, which I love. These seats seems to be a little softer than some other vehicles, especially that Camry I was just in. And they're comfortable. Good bolstering, not super aggressive, not super sporty. I've got good headroom with the seat all the way down, and overall just comfortable seats. I could sit in here for a long time. Now hopping into the back seat of the Accord, this is actually super spacious. So sitting behind myself where I would normally sit, this is how much space I have. That is a ton. This is amazing. So this is like crew cab, full-size truck type of space. So good foot space, really good knee space. I can totally lounge out and actually let the cushion support my thighs. We've got AC vents back here. Kind of the same type of mid-size sedan, center hump, smallish, medium right there. No USBs or charging ports back here, which is kind of unusual. And then when we come to the middle, we've got this center folding armrest, good size square cup holders again. Up above, we just get your regular incandescent bulbs. I'm surprised there's no LEDs back here. But one surprising feature that we have back here is heated seats on this top end touring trim, which is really nice. So those are 3-tier heated seats for these outboard passengers, which is really cool and something I don't expect in this class. We even have nice soft trim here, and up here we finally get the hard touch plastic, which is different than it is in the front. But you've got the nice trim piece as well again. So overall, pretty spacious back seat. And I've got good enough headroom. Honda, aside from the numbers not being that great, it's a surprisingly good headroom back here. And the middle seat is definitely tough. My head does touch the ceiling, so that's something to think about. When it comes to the interior and the comfort on these vehicles, the Camry is gonna have more headroom. And one thing that is, you won't be able to get a red interior on the Accord like you do in this Camry. The Camry is definitely a sporty looking interior, whereas the Accord will give you more legroom in the front and the back. So combined headroom more in the Camry, combined legroom more in the Accord. And in terms of comfort, I would have to go with the Accord because of the extra adjustability up front and the extra legroom in the back. Plus, I think the leather was a little bit softer. Under the hood, the two couldn't be any more different. They're actually like polar opposites in my opinion. The 2020 Camry goes with a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine, which is direct and port injected, which is going to give you 301 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque, which comes out at 4,700 RPM. So a little bit later into the pedal, you'll get that power paired with an 8-speed automatic, and miles per gallon is going to be 22 city, 32 highway, and 26 combined. This is also going to be with a 15.8 gallon fuel tank. Under the hood of this 2020 Honda Accord, we get a 2-liter engine that is direct injected and turbocharged. It's a 4-cylinder, which will put out 252 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. That actually comes out really early at 1,500 RPM, so you don't even have to hardly get on the throttle. Paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. Miles per gallon is going to be 22 city, 32 highway, 26 combined. And the fuel tank will be 14.8 gallons. Now let's take a quick spin in the Toyota Camry first. And the biggest difference that you're gonna see in this car is that the acceleration and the way they feel with that is completely different. So you've got naturally aspirated here, meaning you've kind of got linear acceleration going up the RPM range versus quick acceleration at the lower end range in the Accord with that turbo boost. But I love the way that this V6 drives. So first of all, the Camry is very smooth. That's my first impression. It's leaps and bounds ahead in terms of structure and rigidity and isolation compared to the last generation. And I drive an older generation Camry, so I would know. But let's go ahead and get on it here. Very quick to shift too with that. So it's of course not gonna be a sports sedan, but in this class, this thing moves and this thing is fun to drive. The steering feel is a little lighter than I would have expected, but it's precise, it's responsive. You can take some corners pretty fast and feel very well planted. And if you're just driving this every day, this is very comfortable to drive. It's pretty much effortless. Visibility is good in here. The braking feels good. MPGs aren't too bad for this powerful of an engine either. The ride comfort in here is pretty good, but you do feel all of the bumps, and you might be able to even kind of see/hear that. We have a sport tune suspension in here, so it's kind of just a one-way suspension. It's geared for sportiness. And you can feel that around the corners, and you can tell when you hit some of the bumps. It's a little bit rougher than I would expect for a typical family sedan, but if you don't want that, then you can go with an X model. But overall, I really can't complain with how the Camry drives. It drives nice, it feels very well planted, it's solid, no rattles or vibrations in this very short test drive, but it's just a nice car to drive. And because this is the V6, let's go ahead and get on it again after this, but let's put it in sport mode. And putting it in sport mode will automatically keep you a little bit higher up in the RPM range and a little lower in your gears. And going from a stop, not a huge difference, but it'll probably rev it out a little bit more. Give it some throttle around here. you can hear the sound of that engine. It's still fairly isolated. You don't really hear a ton, but it's nice in that you can hear the power of that V6. All right, taking off in the Honda Accord, we've got a completely different feel because we've got a turbo. So the power comes out with just a little throttle, and it's got 10 gears, so those 10 gears keep you at the right band for your power. The handling on here is still really good. I think the Camry maybe feels a little bit more planted, a little bit flatter, but I feel like this has probably a little bit of a better ride. The steering feel on this is slightly heavier, if I would say. The steering wheel itself is a little bit bulkier, but both are still pretty precise. They drive pretty well. This maybe seems to be a little more responsive if I had to pick one. And if I go ahead and drop it in sport mode, automatically gonna bring up the RPMs. And this car just goes. It is very quick. If you 0 to 60 both of these cars, the Accord would win by a hair, but I love the way that that V6 in the Camry feels. This actually sounds pretty good for a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. I think it's somewhat artificial, but still, can't really complain with it. Both of these cars have a full suite of safety features, and hopefully I can get each of them for a week to actually show you how they all work and give you a real good test drive with those. But overall, very similar in how they drive. The Accord, to me, just off first impressions, feels a little softer. Camry maybe feels a little heavier, a little more planted. So it kind of depends what you want, but they are so similar if you ask me. The braking in the Accord is a little more responsive. I don't know about actual braking power, but they're all so similar, and you really can't go wrong with either one of these cars. This Accord just feels pretty sophisticated. And now for the pricing. I was originally going to be able to get two identically priced cars, only about $100 apart, but this Camry was the only one available to me, which is more expensive than the Accord. It's $39,710 versus $37,030 with the Accord, because the Camry has some extra options on top of its package. In conclusion, with the 2020 Toyota Camry and the 2020 Honda Accord, they both feel very similar but very different at the same time. Some have features that you won't get on the other one. It just depends which way you're looking at it. To me, the Accord feels a little bit more premium and a little bit more on the luxury end, where the Camry feels a little bit sportier with its V6 and its red leather seats. Overall, they both impressed me, and I would love to know which one you would pick. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see the individual comparisons of each, head to the description below. Have a great rest of your day. We'll catch you next time.